How is everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today, I'm going to bring you an episode about the superstar talent and how do you handle that person. I mean, I am super excited about this episode because I think this is such a great topic because there's so much that I think can be learned from studying this particular topic. And I think there's so much that is relevant to this. I think any business, it doesn't have to be banking. I think any business can basically relate to, how do you retain, how do you acquire the top talent? How do you keep those individuals happy? How do you keep them in place? How do you keep them from not ruffling the feathers? How do you keep from not showing them favoritism? There's a whole lot of things that go into that. And I think you can relate sports to this in the terms of any of the major sports. I mean, football, baseball, basketball, hockey. You could relate professional wrestling to this, and I'll share that little story here in a second. But first, here's the article that basically got me thinking about all this. And this was from the Wall Street Journal. And this is, are superstar employees worth it? And it says the answer is yes, but only if leaders understand how their value changes over time. And the article starts out here with every leader wants a superstar on the team, the employee who can deliver double or triple the output of an average employee. These workers have the potential to single-handedly change the fortunes of a business. But the promise of big results comes at a price. Business lore is filled with stories of organizations bending over backward to recruit and retain top performers, offering lavish salaries, perks, and privileges. Little wonder, then, that even as bosses are wooing superstars, there is inevitably a question gnawing at them. Is the superstar worth it? The answer is yes, our research shows, but only if leaders understand that the kind of value superstars bring to the company changes as the star's career evolves. So early on, stars create enormous value through their individual output. As they age, stars may get less productive as individuals, but can often make up for that loss by becoming great collaborators, mentoring younger workers and helping teams succeed. So to get the most out of stars, companies must manage them correctly, giving them options and incentives throughout their career that play to the strengths at that particular moment. You shouldn't motivate and reward a wise old mentor the same way you would a newcomer bursting with energy and ideas. So, and then it goes on to, it kind of gets into making a name, and then it goes on to mentors and experts, and then optimal strategy here. And it kind of, comes down to the end. So let's just I'm going to dive into each one of these very quickly. So making a name. So it just says early on, stars focus intensely on personal achievement. They are driven to prove themselves and build their professional reputations through standout performance, career development. Researchers call this the establishment phase. Then the mentor and experts, but aging stars are overpaid only if you focus on their solo work. As stars get older, companies are getting lower returns on the individual achievements that stars make. And this leads many bosses to think they are getting a raw deal. Their best days are behind them. That attitude doesn't take into account an important fact. As superstars age, they produce a different kind of value that can balance out their lost solo productivity. In other words, these people are really good at what they do, and you need them. You can use them to mentor the next generation. So then it gets down to the optimal strategy. So what should managers do with this information? Put simply, they must recognize the evolving habits and talents of stars and leverage them. The goal with young stars, of course, is to keep them focused on high impact solo work. So companies should shield them from distracting tasks and red tape, perhaps with a dedicated support team or executive assistant to take care of the everyday work. Leaders should also give young stars a lot of leeway, giving them assignments that play to their strengths and aspirations, keeping them invigorated. And stars should get exclusive access to senior leadership as mentors. At the same time, managers should prepare the young stars for the changes that will come later in their career. To that end, their compensation should deliver immediate rewards, such as performance bonuses tied to specific achievements, but they should also enjoy long-term rewards, such as equity grants, vesting over time, personalized development opportunities. Okay. later on, as stars get the urge to mentor, bosses should give them formal training and coaching for that role. They should collaborate with stars to figure out how the top performers want to transition to a leadership role. So, which is all good stuff. I mean, this is all really good stuff in here, and I think that I've seen so many different examples of this over the years. Like, in other words, what do big stars have? People that are really good at something, and that they know that they're really good at something. If you want them, you have to pay them, but they're going to come in and they're going to dramatically change the direction of your business. They're going to jumpstart that growth, whatever your growth objectives are. These are the people that can come in and absolutely can make it happen. But like the article suggests, there is a price for this. In other words, a lot of superstars, what do they have? They've got big egos. They're type A personalities. They can be, lack of a better word, prima donnas. LeBron James. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I would never say that about LeBron. LeBron's not a prima donna. He only takes his talents to South Beach. But that's another story for another time. But no, I think sports are a great example for this kind of thing. Like, I have studied a lot of great coaches over the years, and everything from basketball coaches like John Wooden, Phil Jackson, to football coaches. When you think of Jimmy Johnson, I think of Bill Parcells. I think of Bill Walsh. I think of Dick Vermeil. I think of all these great football coaches, Vince Lombardi, that have come and gone over the years, and they have all kind of had their different methods for dealing with the superstar athletes that they have, right? Like Jimmy Johnson's thing was, he treated superstars like they were superstars, and his teams loved him to death. And and there was all kinds of stories, like one time this player fell asleep in a meeting and he got cut from the team, and basically I think some of the other players were like, hey man, like if that was Emmitt Smith, you wouldn't have done that. And then Jimmy's reply was, yeah, but he's not Emmitt Smith. It's like, and he would tell some of his players, like, hey, look, if you want to be treated like a superstar, then earn that. Go out there and play like a superstar, and then you will be paid like a superstar, and I will treat you like a superstar. But until you do that, I'm going to treat you like you're just another player on the team. And again, that was kind of the culture that Jimmy had built. Bill Walsh was interesting because he just looked at everybody, every single person on the team, albeit a superstar or not, was replaceable. And he looked at it like, hey, even if you're a superstar, like, he'd bring in Jerry. I mean, he had Joe Montana. Joe Montana before Tom Brady was always thought of as the greatest quarterback of all time, until Tom Brady basically, exceeded those accomplishments. And, Joe Montana is still, anybody would have Joe Montana on their Mount Rushmore of top 5 quarterbacks of all time. And, and Bill Walsh basically said, yeah, I can replace Joe with Steve Young. Like, we had him for 11 years, 12 years, whatever. We got the best out of Joe, and now it's time I can replace him with a younger model who can come in and do the job better than he did. So Bill Walsh acknowledged the superstars. He kind of stroked the egos. He did that, but he also said that basically any superstar can be replaced. Like, no one is irreplaceable. Which, again, is another way to look at this. Phil Jackson had to get Michael Jordan to become a team player. He basically had to, Jordan famously said, a reporter went up to Michael Jordan one time and said, hey, Mike, there's no I in team. And then Mike very astutely responded, but there is in win. Which is a great line. But that was Michael's mentality. It was basically like, I got to have the ball. The ball's always got to be in my hands, and I need the ball for the team to win. And Phil basically said, like, listen, that might be good during the regular season for winning some games, but it's not going to enable us to win in the playoffs. We're not going to get by the best teams with you just being a ball hog 80% of the time. You have to work with your teammates. You have to trust your teammates. You have to get the other teammates involved in the game. Get everybody working toward that end goal. And so and like I said, Phil Jackson knew he was so good at kind of massaging all of the personalities and getting people to play. I mean, think about that. You've got Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and Dennis Rodman. So, three totally different personalities, three Hall of Fame players, and you got to get them all to play together as one. And, you look at like Pat Riley and what he did with the Lakers in the 80s. You think of like, Red Auerbach and what he did with the Boston Celtics, winning, 8 straight championships there, winning 9 championships with the Celtics overall, with him in his days. You look all that and you look at like, okay, how do these guys manage these superstars? And we've seen so many instances of, players that come in, they don't perform, they don't fit into the culture, whatever. And then they fizzle out. People are like, oh, you overpaid for that person, or that person came in, they were a prima donna. Nothing was ever good enough for them, whatever, we couldn't make them happy, all this kind of stuff. So it begs a question of like, okay, well, what do you do? Like, when is it worth it? Just so many, there's so many aspects to this, and I'll put it to you another way. So like there was an example I'll use a wrestling example. So when I was a kid, I loved WWE. It was WWF back then, but that was back in the heyday, kind of late 80s, early 90s, when you had, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, the Ultimate Warrior. And so the Ultimate Warrior, who was one of the biggest stars in wrestling, if not the biggest star at that particular moment, literally disappeared overnight, gone. He was at the one big show and then he was out. And then he popped up a year later, magically just kind of popped up, and then he was gone again. And it was a great mystery at that time, because back then, there was no internet. You had to, rely on basically like newspapers or magazines or whatever to try to get information. And so information was scant, especially, if you're a little kid at that time, it's again, you're not, running around buying all this stuff. You don't have access to information. So years and years went by. I want to say, 15 years went by. And then finally, after the Ultimate Warrior retired and people started talking about like what had happened. So he had held up Vince McMahon for a huge amount of money. He basically said it was something like $500,000. And he said, listen, I'm not going out there and I'm not going to perform unless you pay me $500,000. So, Vince McMahon, of course, all the other guys, everybody felt kind of betrayed by this. He had kind of broken one of the cardinal rules in the business. He was kind of messing up the culture in the locker room, if you will. And, again, this is one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star in the company. And Vince McMahon basically said, okay, listen, like, let him go out there, let him perform, let him do his thing. Well, I'm going to pay him. But the minute he comes back through that curtain, he's fired. He's done. And that's exactly what happened. So he went out and performed. As soon as he came back through the curtain, Vince McMahon was like, you're fired, get out. And I think that is, again, it's another, great story for, what can happen if you get a premier talent that is, got such a big ego that they put you on the spot, and there can be ramifications to that. Like, so I'll give you another example. I'll give you a banking example. So you have a banker and you have a CEO. He hires a guy to be his market president. Market president comes in. Market president starts doing some stuff. Things are going well so far. Now maybe the market president wants a little bit more power, or he wants to do certain things or whatever. And the CEO is going, no, I don't want you to do that. So they start butting heads. And then all of a sudden, shockingly one day, that guy's gone. He gets fired. And the CEO is like, yeah, it didn't work out, whatever. He decided to go another way, so we let him go. And then he gets hired by the competition. The competition makes a big splash. Oh, hey, look who we just hired, big press release, all this kind of stuff, whatever. Now all of the board of directors start asking the CEO questions. Yo, man, like this guy was great. He was a premier talent. Now he's working for the competition. Like, what's up, man? What happened here? How did you get that? Why did this guy get fired? And now the CEO's on the spot because he's got to answer a lot of questions. Now the CEO's credibility is on the line for perhaps making a decision that was rash, or, in other words, because again, everybody's got egos. The CEO's got egos. The people on the executive team have egos. The salespeople have egos. And I think that's a big thing. And what it really comes down to at the end of the day is, is culture. What kind of culture do you have? And that culture is going to dictate, how you are able to, get people to align or enmesh themselves in that particular culture. Like the New York Yankees, for example, they have had a culture for a long time of like, listen, we'll go out and we'll buy we'll get a player, buy a player, we'll get a player, we'll pay up for the best. However, when you come here to the New York Yankees, you have a certain look. Like you're going to be clean shaven, and you're going to cut the hair, and you're going to wear, when you wear the pinstripes, man, you're going to look a certain way, and you're going to act a certain way, and that's just their expectations. That's their culture. So it's like if you want to go to New York and play for the Yankees, you're going to have to do the things that they want you to do to kind of enmesh yourself into that culture. And I think it's the same way with pretty much any company. And that's one of the big ways you can manage. Like if you use certain leadership styles, like if you practice what's called servant leadership, I think you can, basically work people in to say like, okay, you might be a big superstar, but we're going to expect you to carry yourself in a certain way. We're going to expect you to treat everybody a certain way. You have to manage yourself differently because you have higher expectations on you. In other words, people are looking to you to be a leader in that organization. So with that, with great power comes great responsibility, as Spider-Man always says. And that's part of the drill there. But again, I love this concept because I think that in certain respects, there's no right or wrong answer here. There's a number of different ways that you can tackle this. There's a lot of different viewpoints on this. I would love to hear people's, different viewpoints on this topic. And it's one thing when I do some of the live streams this weekend, and when I do some of the other, other episodes coming up with some of the other interviews and conversation pieces that I do here on the channel, this is definitely something I'm going to talk about with them to kind of get people's different take and opinion, because I just think it's a phenomenal topic. How do you manage these superstar employees? What are some of the best things from a fit, from a culture standpoint, from a leadership standpoint? Like, how do you go about doing that? What are some times when it works, and when are some times that it fails, and what are different ways to tackle it? But again, great article, just again, suggesting these superstar employees, like they can be tough. They can be a pain. They can be expensive, but here's the thing at the end of the day, like you have to have these people. You've got to have great, talented employees. If you want to grow any business, especially in banking, if you're going to grow your business, like you need great lenders, you need great salespeople that can go out there and develop the business and bring the business in the door. That's how your bank is going to grow. And you got to have those people. So you have to be able to manage those people. So, but anyway, I hope people like like this episode. I hope people kind of really kind of get into this the way that I did, the way I was thinking about it. But if you like the episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Please make sure to leave your comments down below, because I would love to hear everybody's comments on this one. Please make sure to remember that we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. This weekend, please check out, I will be doing live streams on both Podbean for the podcast audience, but to get that live stream on Podbean, you have to download the Podbean app and you have to sign up. It's free, but you have to sign up and create a profile. So that way, if you're on the live stream, it'll give you the ability, if you want to type in a question or if you want to call in, you'll have the ability to do that. So Podbean, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. YouTube, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, also on Saturday. And like I said, hopefully everybody will have a chance to kind of check those live streams out. But really looking forward to it. Celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the podcast this weekend, and really looking forward to it. But I hope everybody has a great time out there. Check out some of the episodes on the channel, and I will see everybody again soon. Thanks a lot.